Hello and welcome to Tracy Momi Reads. This week I am going to be offering up a few tips for reading more in 2022. So if that's like one of your goals, or if you made that a resolution or something this year to read more books. As someone that reads a lot, I just thought I'd share some of the things that work for me that you may want to incorporate if you're finding it challenging to actually be able to maybe meet some of the goals you set with regards to reading. Number one, time. Time is a crucial element because there's only 24 hours in a day, and for some of us that's not nearly enough time to do all the other things that we're obligated and responsible for. So to carve out time to read, it seems almost impossible. But I get it in wherever I can. If I, like every day during the week, I have to pick my daughter up from school, and I go a little early so that we're not, all the way at the back of the line and all the traffic. So if I get there 30 minutes early and I'm sitting in the pickup line, that's perfect time to read. I got 30 minutes there where I can read. If I have a doctor's appointment, doctors are notorious dentists. They're notorious for scheduling and not always seeing you at the time that your appointment is scheduled for, whether they're backed up or they just, overran with the previous patient or whatever. Typically, if you go to a doctor's office, dentist's office, there's going to be a wait. You can have a book, in your bag or bring it with you so that for that extra 15 minutes, hopefully no longer than that, you'll be able, to read then. And if you're someone that's having to commute into work and you're riding, like you do a ride share or you're riding public transportation, sometimes if it's not, too elbow to elbow or too crowded, you could read a book there on your commute. And then at the end of the day, before you go to bed, unlike my husband, it takes me a while to go to sleep. So sometime I'll get on my Kindle and, I'll have that, whatever that lighting that is supposed to be optimized for nighttime. And I'll read, a few pages or chapters or whatever then. Don't think about reading before you go to bed. I've seen this on, people put this on lists about, ways to kind of calm your mind or to wind down and go to sleep. They suggest reading before bed. That can backfire because if you're reading a really good book, you're not going to want to put it down. You're going to, one more chapter. So you got to be careful with that. But as far as time, your day is done. You're in the bed. So maybe you put a little timer on or something. Okay, I'm going to read for 10 minutes and I'll put the book away. But yeah, so there's always ways to eke out a few minutes a day, but sometimes maybe you'll just, like on Saturdays, if you don't work on Saturdays, just commit, let your family and friends know, hey, you know what, for an hour, I'm going to be unavailable. I'm going to be over here in this corner. I'm going to be reading. Just like anything else, you have to make time for what you want to do. Okay. It's a commitment for yourself, for you to do something that you enjoy. Just set a time and stick with it. Okay, number 2, selections. I think that, all readers, especially if you are on Instagram, we're all guilty of falling into the trap of FOMO, fear of missing out. If we follow a lot of bookish people and they're talking about a particular book, we want to jump on that train and we want to be able, to have a conversation about that or see what all the hype is about. But, this year, I'm going to actually try something different. I know in the past I've said this. I don't typically have in February I'm reading this, in January I'm reading this. I don't have a rigid schedule of what I'm going to read. Sometimes books pop up in my timeline and I do pivot and I'm like, well, I was going to read this book, but now I'm going to read this. But sometimes if you're struggling to get reading in, maybe focusing on a particular book is the way to go. Maybe making a list. And I know that you probably see these people talking about how they're reading upwards of 100 books a year and, 200 books a year and all this jazz. Even 52 books a year is a lot because that's like you're reading a book a week. And I don't doubt that there are some people that are actually doing that. I personally think that a lot of them are speaking in terms of audiobooks. They're listening to books. They're not physically reading books. but it's whatever. Don't pressure yourself to get caught up in the comparison or competition trap. If you read one book a month, that is still reading. That is still, providing yourself with some joy, some leisure, some learning, some growing. So even if you just manage to do 12, have a book that you're going to read every month and kind of stick to that until you kind of find your rhythm and you can kind of see, oh, well, you know what? I finished that book like in 3 days. Maybe you move the next book for the month up and then add a book onto the end of your list. So yeah, just making selections. And then also your mood has to be kind of right. That's why I think sometimes making a list, because mentally you can kind of prepare yourself. Because if you go into, if you're not feeling all that great, or if you've had a rough month or rough time, the last thing you want to do is read a serious or heavy book. So kind of give yourself some options with regards to the types of books you read. Number 3, location. I am not like I have this nice reading room, as you can see. Like, I think I've done a couple of tours. There's this chair I'm sitting in, there's another chair, and they're normally facing each other. A lot of times I sit here and read, but a lot of times I'm also in the living room. And like I said, sometimes in the bed. So you just want to get somewhere where it's comfortable. And because I'm such an OG when it comes to reading, I have actually, in order to get my Fitbit steps, I've actually even walked around my house while reading. But I think having a comfortable space, a space that's well lit, whether if you have, a lot of natural light coming in or a lamp or something, somewhere where you can curl up and maybe put your feet, on the chair or the ottoman or wherever, get a specific place that you like to read. And again, all these tips, they're for anybody, but especially people that are struggling to find the time to read, or, you're wondering how other people are doing it. Initially I would just find a comfortable place to read and, just make that your spot, somewhere that you enjoy going, whether it's if you're getting a blanket and having a cup of tea on a little side table, just carve out a little spot in your, your space where you can go and enjoy a book. Let's see. Number 4, tracking. This is something that most readers do. Like I talked about, writing down or listing out books that you want to read. They have several apps that can also help to that end. The app that I use is called Reading List. And basically, you can just have all the books that you want to read. And then when you start one of the books, you click on it and it'll put like today's date. For example, if I start a book, it'll put today's date. And then I can go in, if I finish it 3 days later, I click that I finished it and it'll put the date 3 days from now, and it'll show it took me 3 days to read it. There is a space there, and it gives like all the general details about the book. It'll have a picture of the cover, the author, the number of pages, the category or genre. Then it has a section where you can rated how many stars you thought it was worth, with 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. You can even do half stars with the Reading List. And then there's a section for notes. And that's where, if you've watched my channel and you hear me say, oh, let me get my notes, because I'll transfer it to my laptop, because it's an app that's on my phone. And then I'll put, like, as I'm reading, oh, okay, this opening was crazy. And then I'll read some more. And then I can go, and put another note and just track everything there on my phone. And there's other, like Storygraph is another one. A lot of people are on Goodreads. That's a huge platform that is like also, they have an app. It's on desktop, laptops, and it connects readers and authors, all over the globe. So that's a good one where you can kind of put in your books, track it, and write your review for other, authors. So that Goodreads is more, in my opinion, kind of in the vein of social media, if you will, because you can follow people, you can like stuff that they post and things like that. And then, but also some people like, doing the old school method. If you're a journaler or somebody that likes to do that kind of stuff, you can buy a pretty notebook and kind of just write down the books that you're going to read. And the reason why I suggest this is because if you start to track what you're reading and you're kind of like giving like reviews or stars, you get more of a feel for what you like and what you don't like. So you'll know what books maybe to gravitate towards so that you're not wasting your time. If you've read 4 historical fiction books and you didn't like any of them, guess what? You may not need to read any more historical fiction books. That just may not be your genre. So tracking and kind of keeping up with what you're reading, how you felt about the books, and things like that is a good way to figure out what you really like and kind of be able to set up the books that you want to read for the year. And it also helps you see that you are actually reading and meeting your goals. You know, because sometimes you forget, like I know I've used that app and reading list, and at the end of the year I was scrolling, and because I always think about books that I've reviewed in terms of this YouTube channel, I read a lot of books that I didn't even talk about on this channel. So that's another upside to it. I hope that these tips, again, you know, time, selections, location, and tracking are tips that, you know, would actually be beneficial to you and help you, because I know for me, reading is such a cathartic and therapeutic, I guess, hobby, you know, for lack of a better word. And it has also helped me expand my horizons and my vocabulary and just my perspective on how I view the world. And I mean, I've gotten this from even fiction books, you know, fiction books, self-help, nonfiction, memoirs. Just reading is just, it's just something I have such a deep passion for. And I hope that this video was helpful and that it helps you on your journey to even reading and discovering more books. Thanks so much. I'll be back next week with another review. Bye.